Pull up in the club, looking fly.
Please welcome Founder and Executive Vice President, NetSuite, Evan Goldberg.
That was actually the hardest part of the keynote. I have new appreciation for the actors in Hamilton. People were telling me before, break a leg. I'm like, no, that's exactly what I don't want to do. So hello, everybody. After a brief interruption, it's great to be in person and to see half of your faces. It wasn't quite the same at home with my cat, Maisie. However, she does meow at all my jokes. So last time, in 2019, we wrapped up with Jason Sudeikis. And clearly, we were the catalyst that caused his career to skyrocket. I noticed he spoke at Dreamforce. It reminds me of the founding of NetSuite, when Mark Benioff came up to me a few months later and said, oh, I'm going to do one of those internet startups also. So we're happy to continue as Salesforce.com's idea incubator. And here's a tip-off. Next year's guest at SuiteWorld is none other than the Tiger King. So Mark, you might want to get a jump on us. So thank you to all the phenomenal sponsors. They're here today. You can visit them in the expo. We're so proud of the ecosystem. All of these companies truly enhance the NetSuite experience. A special thanks to our diamond sponsors, Avalara, Deloitte Digital, Expensify. Thank you. Thanks to them, all of the sponsors, and the great NetSuite team. We have a fantastic program for you over the next 3 days. So our theme for SuiteWorld this year is Power Your Growth. So you may notice superheroes in costume all over. Each represents actually a critical role in business. There's stories behind them. Maybe you'll see yourself in some of those stories. Like all of you, we have an origin story from 1998 when we were a small startup above a hair salon next to a liquor store, and yet we managed to succeed. we had a belief in an animating idea, manage your entire business online. Like you, we secured funding. In our case, it was from Larry Ellison. I strongly recommend it if you can pull it off. But we found those first customers. Eventually, we went public. We acquired businesses, and we ourselves were acquired. So besides our journey, we've also had a bird's eye view on thousands of journeys of other businesses. All have a unique story to tell, but they share some traits. Growth is never easy. Despite the origin stories where you hear all the high points, there are low points. There are challenges and failures, and how you respond to those is what propels your business to new heights. So we want to provide more superpowers to fuel your mission so you can grow even faster. So today we're going to talk about the latest advances in NetSuite that are going to help power your growth. But first I want to set the stage. There's been massive change in the last 18 months, and no, Captain Obvious is not one of the NetSuite superheroes. But challenges remain, and yet there's great promise. Lately predictions suggest there will be solid growth in 2022. Nobody has a crystal ball, but consumer spending is up. Funding records have been shattered. Venture capital, private equity money is flowing at an eye-popping clip. In fact, we're on a record pace for IPOs and unicorns. As you know, those are companies worth $1 billion, private companies worth $1 billion. Well, you might say, Evan, $1 billion isn't so much money anymore. We need a name for $10 billion private companies. And I'm suggesting Krakens. What do you think? Will it stick? I don't know. But we're really, really proud that 65% of the tech IPOs in 2021 are running NetSuite. Companies are relying on NetSuite through this critical milestone in their business. And yet, of course, the current landscape presents many challenges. Some of the challenges are the same: compliance issues, regulations, taxes, increasing the productivity of your employees, leapfrogging the competition. And then you have to layer on the new challenges. For the workforce, labor shortages, retention issues, the great resignation. Employees want to work remotely. They want more flexibility. They expect more in benefits. They expect more in engagement. They want to see what your organization is doing, not just for its shareholders, but for the world. Supply chain issues, nothing new, but now it's exacerbated by all these logistics issues. The boats outside of, the ships outside of Long Beach Harbor, and you could see the Kraken's back. I mean, you could tell your kids, sweetie, I'm sorry, the Kraken ate your Christmas present. But obviously there's big disruptions in shipping, and it's causing rising prices, and how do you deal with that and remain profitable? And yet, while customer satisfaction's always been paramount, expectations have risen during the pandemic. Customers want you to meet them where they are, whether you're providing product. They want it online or at the curb or at their doorstep. If you're providing services, they want it immediately, wherever they are in the world. They want delivery overnight or sooner. So what is the new normal? Well, I haven't figured out a pithy name like Kraken for it yet, but this name was designed in the NetSuite labs. The dynamic multi-omni hybrid normal. It is more dynamic. It is more complex. There's going to be starts and stops. Sometimes it'll be clear. Sometimes it'll be murky. And you're going to need to meet your customers and your employees where they are. And it seems like everything is going hybrid. The hybrid workforce. They want to work remotely, but sometimes they want to be in person. Hybrid service delivery. They want it now, but also sometimes they want to see you. Hybrid inventory. Sometimes you're going to be thinking just in time. Sometimes you're going to be thinking just in case. And then business models. I mean, Zach was up here years ago talking about products companies are becoming service companies, and service companies are becoming product companies. That's really coming true. We see so many of these types of companies. We're going to see one today, Modzy, who's a service company and a product company and a technology company. Another SuiteWorld theme over the years has been Omni-Channel, and that's stepped up to the next level. Not only do you have to sell everywhere, you're going to be buying everywhere. You're going to be fulfilling everywhere, fulfilling through your stores. All kinds of new challenges from this. And then finally, planning. It's become not an every so often thing, but now it has to be a continuous process through every aspect of your business, not just finance, but sales, supply chain, your people. So in this ever-changing landscape, the themes that we've talked about at past SuiteWorlds, The need for visibility, control, agility, productivity, collaboration across global workforces. This has really come to the forefront. And the questions we see companies asking is, how do I quickly adapt when things are changing so fast? How do I have more productivity even as things get more complex? How can I predict demand when everything seems unpredictable? And how can I minimize risk when risk is everywhere? How do I get the entire organization to work together as one, even though they are everywhere? And ultimately, how do I increase my velocity? So you all have superheroes, even if you don't know it. You might not be wearing the cape, though we recommend the cape for the gala on Wednesday night. But you need these superpowers to grow to what you are today. And we think there's really 3 critical superpowers for success in today's environment. We're going to talk about each of them and how we'll enable them. The first is automation. It's the superpower to increase your efficiency, your productivity, ultimately move faster than ever seemed possible, faster than a speeding bullet or a speeding hyperloop. The next is insights, the visibility to see through the data, what's behind it. We think of it as business X-ray vision. And finally, the only way to thrive in this dynamic hybrid environment is with agility. That's like the agility of those real-world superheroes we see on TV cutting through a hole in the defense for a big gain or an and one. So we're going to start by talking about automation. You can't move fast if you're bogged down in inefficiency and manual processes, and these bottlenecks increase as you scale. You have more suppliers to pay, you have more invoices to process, your employees are creating more expenses. It's kind of constant data entry, manual tasks. Automating those relieves burdens from your people. What we hear is, I want to focus on my mission as a business. I don't want to focus on these manual tasks. And this is true regardless of what type of business you are or if you're a nonprofit. Manufacturer, retailer, it's the same. Service company, what have you. It's all about being able to accomplish your mission faster, bigger, better than ever before. So we truly believe in helping nonprofits succeed and do good better. We have an incredible nonprofit customer, Make-A-Wish. They are a mission-driven organization. They've grown to 59 chapters, have seen many of the challenges that we've been talking about. I'm honored to have them talk about their mission and their growth journey. I'd like to introduce Richard Davis, the CEO of Make-A-Wish.
Hi, Evan.
Thanks, Richard. So Make-A-Wish is an incredible organization. Can you talk about a little bit of the journey that brought you to Make-A-Wish?
Well, I want to be with superpowers, and these are superpower kids. I had a career in business for 45 years, and as I was coming to the sunset of that moment in time, I thought I really wanted to be part of a first derivative organization that changes lives instantly and immediately. And my search took me to Make-A-Wish, where our superpower is hope. And these wonderful kids who find out very quickly there's a community of people that care about them and love them and want them to be well, and that changes everything. Hope is really the very special superpower of Make-A-Wish.
Terrific, and I'm glad you got the calculus in there. So we know about Bat Kid.
Yep.
And a lot of people know about these great stories, but can you tell us a bit more about what we might not know about Make-A-Wish?
Yeah, first of all, 16,000, 18,000 kids a year achieve a wish, and they're introduced to us by their physicians. You can't just come in to Make-A-Wish, you have to be referred. And the child has to have a critical illness that could potentially be fatal, but 70% of our children graduate to adulthood. The reason that matters so much is because people want to help kids, and it's a beautiful investment. And kids, as they age and they look back on these experiences, they pay it forward into life, and they change who they are, and they change the rest of us. What's so special about Make-A-Wish is it provides this opportunity for people to be part of another person's life, even if they don't know the child upon introduction. And so that's the special part of Make-A-Wish. And Evan, what's so unique about it is the people who are unwittingly involved and become part of that wonderful wish experience. Like everything else in life, the gift is in the giving, and it is for all of us as well. The child is remarkably changed because of the outpouring of care and love and support. But every one of us who touches that child, well, we're different forever as well. So that's the very special part of Make-A-Wish. We all get to participate in changing a life, but then goes on to change many others.
Well, that's fantastic. That's so inspiring, and that's what people see
Yeah.
when they see the sort of the outside of Make-A-Wish. But behind this, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. I know that you have 59 chapters. So
Right.
what complexity has that added, and how have you used technology, including NetSuite, to kind of address that?
That's where you all come in.
Well,
So-
we like to think that behind the scenes we're changing the world.
Well, there's two elements moving on here.
Right.
Make-A-Wish is a 41-year-old organization, which is young. The technology is 41 years old, which is old.
Yeah.
And we are 60 chapters plus a national office, so we have 60 different ledger systems, and they're all old. So we have two moving parts. One is to become contemporary, the other one is to become cohesive. Literally, if you're old enough, like me on the stage, you actually know what a Rolodex is. The younger ones, you don't. A Rolodex is your contact list on your phone. We actually are taking Rolodex and placing that data into a system, first of all, to become contemporary, and secondly, to have you guys help us consolidate it under one umbrella, so we have an enterprise-wide capacity to know who we have, where they are, and where they're going.
Well, that's fantastic, and thanks for translating
Yeah.
for the younger part of our audience. So what's next for Make-A-Wish?
So the pandemic, which you called a small intermission or brief interruption, really hurt our mission gravely, because 80% of our children every year travel by air or to a destination with large people. And all of those were stopped. Our children are technically more physically fragile, so we want them to be protected. And so we had to reimagine. If you've ever thought about wishes, if I said to each one of you, make a wish, your eyes would probably move to the sky and you would start thinking grand and amazing and remarkable. And that's what Make-A-Wish has always been. The child has the ability to pick whatever they want, anything, except we can't get you off the planet yet. We can get everything else accomplished, and everybody.
Well, Larry's friend Elon.
Well, I'm saying we're getting there. And even the Pope will meet our kids, many of them every year. So we have this capacity to give you whatever you want. And now I have to give you a caveat and say, pick it within the bounds of not traveling by air yet, or say internationally. And so they become brilliant, reimagine wishes. There's a lot of video opportunities in virtual meetings with celebrities. There's opportunities to have a treehouse in your backyard, fashioned in the way you want it to be. An opportunity to be mayor for a day, or a chance to go somewhere and be somewhere that no other opportunity could have ever been created like that. Either way, the goal is that during your therapy as a child, once you've been diagnosed with whatever you're facing, all the medicines are presented, all the caregivers are surrounding you, and then in comes this superpower called hope, and this thing called Make-A-Wish that walks into your life as a child and says, you get to pick anything you want. There's no needles, there's no medicine, there's no scary machines. Pick whatever you want and have control for just a minute again in something in your childhood. And let's pick something that helps you get through that very difficult time. Whatever happens at the end, we're not as concerned about as what happens during the journey. And then after the journey's end, we're told many, many times, thousands of times every year, that the journey itself was not only better because of Make-A-Wish, the hope was the last medicine they needed to get to the other side. And so that allows us a chance to take this wonderful mission and make it more efficient, more effective, and getting back to the technology allows us to know more about who it is we're serving and who out there we haven't found yet.
Well, Richard, that is incredibly inspiring, and thanks for leveraging the superhero analogy. And so we have an activation on the show floor. You can see 3 children and their wishes, so I encourage you all to get out there and check it out. Thanks so much for everything you do.
Thank you very much.
Glad to be a small part
Thanks to all of you guys.
Richard.
We appreciate it.
So automation for organizations like Make-A-Wish is a huge reason that they choose NetSuite, and we're always trying to do more. So one area that every organization has to deal with is banking. It's sort of like death and taxes, though marginally more pleasant. Today we're announcing an offering to automate the bulk of banking interactions. It's called Suite Banking. So Suite Banking makes it easier than ever to optimize your cash flow. We're the first to extend ERP suites into fintech. It makes it faster and easier to pay bills, get paid, sync with your bank. No more teams manually entering data, manually dealing with the bank, manually matching transactions and tracking payments. Those repetitive tasks, as I said, they eat resources that could be deployed for strategic projects. I'm going to talk about each component in turn of Suite Banking. It starts with AP automation. Instead of manual entry, bills come directly into NetSuite. They're scanned and captured. They're matched with a PO. Transaction is created. With a click, you approve it, and it's paid automatically with the lowest cost method. full cycle automation of AP. AR automation, there's a payment link on the customer's invoice. They click to pay with the credit card or PayPal or ACH, and those on-time payments, they reduce your day sales outstanding, they improve your cash flow, and then there's even SuiteCommerce My Account, a self-service portal that customers can pay their invoices, see their invoices, check their order status, reorder, and more. Again, full cycle automation of AR. For employee expenses, we already have mobile expense capture. Take a picture of the expense, get paid automatically through payroll. Now there's going to be an Oracle NetSuite card for purchasing. It'll be paid or reimbursed automatically. And again, full cycle automation of employee expenses. The global wallet, this is extending payments all around the world. Effectively, it's a bank account in 60 countries that syncs back into NetSuite. You don't have to open it up yourself. You don't have to maintain it, but you can transact globally in the local currency. So important to our customers that are ever expanding their international presence. Finally, automated reconciliation directly from the bank feed. The system recognizes transactions. If it doesn't recognize it, you tell it that they're matched and it remembers that for the future. This allows you to have an accurate cash position, know where you stand. And if you need, for an important purchase, more capital, we're going to have working capital right in NetSuite based on the information that you approve being provided. So HSBC is our initial partner for this. Many of the exciting new features are a result of this partnership, and their global footprint allows us to offer these services around the world. We're really looking forward to working with HSBC. Ultimately, cash flow automation is the vision. Some of the features are now, some will be in 22.1, and there'll be even more in 22.2, so please read those release notes. I know you already all do. Okay, so besides efficiency and productivity, there's another huge payoff from automation. It's consistency in process, and consistency in process leads to consistency in data, and that's critical for our next superpower, which is insights. So there's more data than ever. But besides just being able to see that data on the screen, you want to see behind it. You want to extract value. That's the business X-ray vision. Why did actuals exceed budget? Why is there higher employee turnover? Is it have to do with market salaries? There seems to be a seasonal dip in demand. Where is that happening? How can I prevent excess inventory or idle people? And to get these insights, I need data in real time or near real time because things change so rapidly. NetSuite solves this in multiple ways. Sort of the premier way that we've been talking about for several years is Suite Analytics, the replacement for search and reporting, and we've been consistently improving Suite Analytics in NetSuite. You can create workbooks. They can turn into dashboards with pivot tables on them. We're constantly improving it. Multi-data sets is the next feature in the workbook UI, so you can create budget versus actual sales versus forecast, et cetera. So customers are really exploiting these new capabilities. I recently sat down with one such customer. Modsy is an online interior design company. They're design expertise as a service. They're a great example of these kind of hybrid companies. They're a service company, they're a product company, they're a technology company. Shauna Tellerman is the CEO. I recorded this interview for an obvious reason that you'll learn in a moment. Please roll. Shauna, the reason we're doing this in your office a couple weeks before SuiteWorld is because you are expecting. And by SuiteWorld, maybe you'll have had a baby.
We'll see.
And we expect the nickname to be Sweetie. We're not, saying you have to actually, have the official name be Sweetie, but just the pet name. And okay, so let's talk about your other baby, Modsy. Why don't you just give high-level description of what Modsy does for people in their spaces?
Sure, yeah. So Modsy is an online design service. You go online and you work fully virtually with a designer. And then our unique technology is that we use 3D to recreate your space and show you how everything looks in the space. And so as you saw, it comes back looking really photorealistic, and everything in the full design is shoppable. You can actually buy it. It's a real product.
I mean, it was so cool to see it. I mean, the renderings were absolutely spot on, so really cool. So how did you have the idea?
Yeah, I think like so many, it's my own experience. My husband and I moved into a home here in San Francisco, and we went about, trying to buy furniture and make a space that was upgraded. We were finally getting rid of like our hand-me-downs and IKEA and everything else we had collected along the way. And honestly, we started with a rug. We were like, we have to buy the rug to know how everything's positioned and to match the art and get it all right. And we got stuck. And so we couldn't figure out the rug, so we couldn't figure out the art, so we couldn't figure out any of the other components of the room. And we lived like that for like a year plus. And finally, I was sitting there one day and I was like, there has to be a better way to do this. The inspiration sites are beautiful, but I can't translate them to my space. And the e-commerce and retail sites, they're just products. I can't imagine how they look in my space. And so I envisioned this idea of really affordable design combined with 3D visualization where you could get the confidence to make decisions by seeing it all in your home. And so that was it. I was off to the races after that.
Yeah, fantastic. It's great. I mean, it's similar with NetSuite. It just, when you have a shortcoming that you see in just kind of doing your life, for me, it was like I could not get information about my business. That really continues to inspire you throughout growing your company. And your company has grown so fast. What is some, kind of like measure that you can give us of how much people are now using the platform?
Yeah, I mean, so in, year one, we were probably doing, tens of or maybe 100 or something renderings a week. And we're now in the point where we're doing millions of renderings, design renderings a month, and scaling our cloud services to be able to enable that.
So I've gotten to be a user of Modsy, super cool. It was so easy. I signed up, I scanned my room, I looked at some kind of possible different types of decor and which things I liked, and then magically I got a rendering of my room and how it would look in the future. But I'm sure there was a lot that went on behind the scenes. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first step you mentioned seems really trivial, like you walk around the room and you just use the app and scan it, but it did take us like 5+ years to develop the technology that doesn't require you to go get measuring tape and makes it really seamless for the customer. But in the background, what we're doing is actually extrapolating all of the dimensions of a room and reconstructing a 3D model, as much of it automated as we can make possible. And that was years of work, and it's still kind of like a cutting edge or bleeding edge field of computer vision. And so that was kind of, in some ways it's behind the scenes. It makes it really simple for a customer. So the simplest things sometimes are the hardest things to enable. And for us, that's some of our core patented technology. Second step that we enable is really this design interaction and this hybrid sort of enabling a designer to do what they do best, which I think you had a call with the designer. So letting them create that connection, listen to you, understand what your needs are, solve for functional needs, solve for creative needs, but not spend time on the hundreds of kind of small tasks that designers are usually doing at the beginning of a project and all the way through the project. So everything from that intake, like getting information about you and from you, and then the design software. So we have design software behind the scenes that our designers use. It's Modsy only IP, and they go in there. It's kind of like playing on The Sims, but it's assisted, and they go in there and they design your room. A lot of pieces of it are automated or recommended for them, and then they click a button and it magically renders out that experience that you got.
Yeah, that's amazing. And one of the things that strikes me about your company, and we have a lot of customers who have a hybrid business model. They're providing products and services. You kind of have like, 3 legs on the stool, and you're providing technology as well as services and product. What has been the challenge there of kind of trying to, walk and chew gum and do something else, whatever, at the same time?
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the technology component has actually been the easiest part of this, and obviously my background as well. So 3D visualization and product and technology is where I came from originally. What I have had to learn is both scaling people operations, especially creative services, so interior designers, and a subjective service where you're going to look at it and say, I like this, I don't like that, I like this designer, I don't like this designer. So that's been really interesting because we're trying to scale it, keep it really repeatable, make sure that the quality is consistent, that the designers do a great job, the costs are maintained, and all of that while we're growing very quickly. And then the last piece, probably the hardest to be honest, is delivering furniture, like big physical goods to people's houses, and the pandemic has not helped on that front with lots of supply chain challenges and delays, but getting those physical goods to people's homes, tracking it, especially for us across retailers and vendors, and making sure that they arrive there on time and not damaged. That's been a whole new adventure and a lot of learning.
Let's talk a little bit about NetSuite. So you've implemented NetSuite and you're continuing to expand the use of NetSuite. So, and we talk a lot about visibility, and that's sort of one of the reasons I started NetSuite was to get sort of better visibility. Can you talk about how NetSuite's been helpful to get sort of visibility into Modsie's operations?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I mentioned, especially the furniture component is a complicated piece of our business, and in this year, with the supply chain delays, really getting visibility into where our products are, when they're actually delivered, and then the revenue related elements of that. So understanding revenue recognition in the right way, setting up the accounting in the right way, also understanding if somebody's canceling along the way because they've been waiting 5 months for a sofa. We didn't have that kind of visibility and that kind of real time reporting. So the move to NetSuite for us is a game changer, really, in both how we can manage the business, deliver a great customer experience, and then know where we are from an accounting and revenue standpoint.
Fantastic. And so maybe can you talk a little bit about what's in store for Modsie without giving away too many secrets?
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously continued growth. Hopefully this kind of resurgence of the home is just a long-term trend. E-commerce is accelerated in that same way, so growth is definitely on the horizon. But the newest service I'm excited about is Remodels and Renovations. So we are piloting right now the ability to do the same design services we do today that show you furniture and decor in your home. We're going to expand into like kitchens, bathrooms, whole home renovation, and you can see finishes, fixtures. We've had this request since almost day one, and so we're finally enabling it, and the early pilot is fantastic. The designs are so beautiful.
Well, that's great, and that's it sounds like a game changer for people that are trying to make the most out of their home. Fantastic. So, well, good luck with everything in the future for Modsie, Shauna, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
That was great. I got to talk to Shauna a little bit about raising 2 babies at once, your real baby and your company. My oldest daughter was born right when we started NetSuite. Everything seems to have turned out okay. A good part of it is that when they cry in the middle of the night, you're already up. So we have a great collaboration with Modsie on the Expo floor. You can find out your design style and see how it works. It's a really cool experience. I encourage you to check it out. Clearly, insights from data is a prime reason companies like Modsie adopt NetSuite. There are some critical sources of data, believe it or not, outside of NetSuite. And as a business, you want to bring those all together. You want to mash them up. You want to make connections. You want to use machine intelligence and statistical analysis to see patterns and trends that the human eye might miss. For this, we're delivering NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. It's now in general availability. It's more than an everyday data warehouse. It's a comprehensive, intelligent BI platform. It's really a huge benefit of being part of Oracle. It's a collaboration with other parts of Oracle. You can combine all your sources of data. You can make better decisions driven by this comprehensive view. It's ready for NetSuite right from the start. It has airtight integrity, security, and world-class performance. It starts with the Oracle Analytics Data Warehouse. It's the world's most sophisticated and automated data warehouse technology. If we had Larry Ellison here, he'd be able to wax eloquent about it. Actually, maybe we'll have him after the Tiger King. But for now, you're stuck with me. You can activate your flow of data into Analytics Warehouse with no additional configuration. The data flows as Suite Analytics data sets automatically at any interval you choose, even hourly. And then you can immediately mash up this NetSuite data with external data sources. We have 25 pre-built connectors. You can also import your proprietary data, even spreadsheets. Once you have all this data together, you can visualize it with up 40 different visualization types. You can analyze historical trends with snapshotting. NetSuite Analytics Warehouse has comprehensive statistical analysis and machine learning capabilities. You can train, test, and apply models. You can identify patterns behind the data. This is a case of mashing up data between Google Analytics and NetSuite, analyzing page views versus sales for items and finding outliers. items that merit more or less visibility on your website. So the beta customers for NetSuite Analytics Warehouse have hugely helped us with the design. I want to bring up one of them. The company's called ClickStop, and Tom Altman is the CTO. Thanks, Tom. All right, the new handshake. So why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about what ClickStop does?
Sure. ClickStop is kind of your classic startup, two guys in a garage, e-commerce company. We started out with U.S. Cargo Control as our main brand, load procurement, ratchet straps, that kind of thing. We acquired a few other companies, and we just love to be online, and NetSuite's been a great part of that.
Fantastic. So you have a long history with NetSuite. Talk a little bit about the analytics journey that you've followed.
Sure. It's not a very good story, kind of a scary one, actually. We've been on NetSuite since 2009, always kind of using the saved searches as our data warehouse for a long time. When everybody's doing their own thing, you get so many of them. And so we started to work about 4 years ago into building our own data warehouse. We built that just in a SQL database. It just wasn't working out right. We were leveraging Power BI. It wasn't working for us. Everything was updated. When the pandemic hit, we found that some people were actually using their desktop, we were serving it off their desktop. So it became really difficult for us. That's when we heard about the new NetSuite data warehouse. We got signed up in the beta, and we've been extremely excited about it ever since because of the real time. The hardest parts that we've had so far is just the time frame it takes to get that data in. It's just not soon enough for us.
Great. Well, and you don't have to worry about ripping Microsoft. That's absolutely fine. So what were what are the data sources you were looking to integrate with NSAW?
Yeah, I think mostly just across the board, our main data is our first key. But we really are excited about the Google Analytics. We're excited to work harder on getting our Google AdWords data in because of all the digital marketing that we do. We just can't see it soon enough. It's all Excel spreadsheets mashed up. Everybody's doing it a different way. We just want to get that in an automated fashion so that everyone can understand the data as soon as possible.
Great. And sort of what are some of the future uses you see now that you have NSAW in-house?
We definitely want Google AdWords. We want to look at our Amazon data because, of course, everyone sells a lot of things there. And then I think what I'd like to see is kind of big picture thinking is the Federal Reserve out of the St. Louis has a lot of data available, like economic data. I think there's just a lot of things that we can leverage to see why some of the things happen. So we're going to bring that data in too.
Well, fantastic. Well, really excited to see how you use NSAW.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your help on it.
Thank you.
Good luck with the future of ClickStop.
Thanks.
All right. Take it easy.
See you.
Thank you. So now I'm going to shift to the other end of the analytics spectrum. We've been talking about aggregate data. Now I want to talk about insights specific to your job, embedded right in the suite, embedded right in your interactions. We're introducing in 22.1 the Customer 360. So we've been talking about this. Hopefully you know this from using NetSuite, that it provides unprecedented data about customers. Sales data, web data, project data, financial data, shipping data, etc. Customer 360 is a newly imagined user experience to take advantage of that data and deliver insights and actions. It allows your salespeople, your service people, your collections people, your project managers to best serve the customer and drive lifetime loyalty. It's a complete view of customer activity, communications, transactions, financial data, allows sales reps and service people to see red flags that require attention. So I want to dive into each part of Customer 360. On the left is the relationship summary. This is quick headlines. Awesome Fit is in the top 10% of your customers, and buyer Barbara is actively engaged. We know that because she contacted us recently and browsed the website. In the middle is the metrics section with key insights, data from across the suite. We can see that sales and customer lifetime value are strong. Profitability is improving, but there's still opportunity. And then finally, the noteworthy section on the right, important updates and actionable insights, opportunities to sell additional products, alerts like a notification of a shipment delay, so that you're knowledgeable when you call the customer. These are changes in activity that are surfaced to allow you to be proactive, optimize your customer's experience, and drive lifetime loyalty. Gary's going to detail more of this in the product keynote tomorrow, along with other extraordinary experiences, so please attend. So we started with automation to focus on the bigger picture. And then data gives you insights to identify which areas you want to focus on. It allows you to make decisions and take action. But we all know to carry out those actions, you need to be able to pivot quickly. And that's why the final superpower is agility. Let's take a look at how NetSuite helps there. In the start, stop, hybrid, omni, multi, normal, you constantly need to adapt. Maybe we need a superhero modeled after MacGyver. I'm now aging myself. There's like 3 of you in the audience that know what I'm talking about. But flexibility is the name of the game. NetSuite businesses have shown it. Here's some great examples. So Genexa is an over-the-counter clean medicine company. They were struggling because of a growing number of SKUs. They're selling across thousands of stores and e-commerce channels. NetSuite simplified their e-commerce, allowing them to route orders directly from channels like Amazon to their fulfillment center, and they're using demand planning to optimize their inventory levels to make sure that product is always available for their customers. B2B furniture manufacturer, TOV Furniture, they sold only through retailers like Walmart and Wayfair, and they made the decision to go direct to consumer. NetSuite helps them manage their inventory across these new channels. They have visibility to the channel performance. And partly as a result of this, their results are 60% increase in sales over the last year. UK lending marketplace company Landbay, they were hit hard by the mortgage stall in 2020. They developed new offerings, but they also set up a continuous scenario planning process. They used assumptions based on their real-time data in NetSuite. They developed best and worst case scenarios. They ultimately created a 13-week rolling forecast, and tight communication between their CEO, their CFO, and their finance staff allowed them to assess shifting dynamics and make rapid decisions about their business. So these 3 examples show that each business faces unique challenge. This is where the platform excels. Suite Cloud Development Environment allows you to extend the suite for specific needs. The vision is one vision, but for any business. So let's review how we got here and where we're going with the platform. So the platform delivers both business agility and developer agility. Business agility is to be able to adapt and tailor NetSuite without code. It's easy, fast, and maintainable. It starts with custom fields and records for data in your business. You can tailor the UI with form customization. You can automate your business processes with SuiteFlow. And more recently, we added the ability to deliver ERP customization, deep ERP customization via SuiteGL. So that's custom transactions plus custom segments. It's really a unique ability to customize the financials. And custom segments are dimensions, like product line, that you can track across the suite, not just in financials. Nobody else has this depth of ability to customize the business system. So an example of a company using these capabilities is Discovery Behavioral Health. Their mission is to expand access to quality mental health care. They were growing rapidly, and they credit NetSuite with being instrumental in this expansion. Specifically, they use SuiteGL to cater to unique reporting needs across different divisions. We're also bringing more agility to developers, both customer and partner developers. So it started with SuiteScript 1.0, business logic customization based on industry standard JavaScript. Suite Bundler facilitated the sort of first generation of packaging and distribution of solutions. We've developed, as a result of these early advances, a very lively ecosystem. You see them out in the expo hall. But we're continuously reinventing this tool set. SDF, the Suite Cloud Development Framework, allows modern team development, more robust, more scalable distribution. We have IDEs that enable the full DevOps pipeline, debugging, command line interface, testing. SuiteScript 2.0 added modern JavaScript features, and REST takes integration to the next level with the latest Open API 3.0 standards. We've been working to make all of this available across the suite so you can extend or integrate anywhere and rely on NetSuite being your system of record. So here's where I get really excited, because there's code on the screen. And in fact, I wrote that title. That's probably the first code I've written in a while. Microsoft Studio Visual Code is used by millions of software developers worldwide. The recent introduction of the Suite Cloud IDE extension for VS Code allows developers to create and customize SDF projects, interact with their NetSuite account directly inside VS Code, just like they can with WebStorm. And we're always going to be focused on going where developers are. So we're continuing to work to push the boundaries of the platform. Here's some of the key areas of investment. For the administrator experience, so we talked about no-code customization. It's very trendy now. We were there 20 years before. We're bringing this closer to the business user with in-context customization, an approval designer that makes it easier than ever to create approval processes. In certain circumstances, we believe that business process owners can personalize and customize, but this is also going to make it easier to train admins. For the developer experience, we always want to have the most modern business cloud development experience. We're adding TypeScript for low-code development. We're adding more integration hooks to popular cloud-based services like we did with VS Code. And then finally, for the user experience, we're going to be leveraging the latest Oracle UI technology. I would not have believed this when we rejoined Oracle 5 years ago, but Oracle is investing really, really heavily in the business user experience. And the Redwood design system, you saw some of it with the Customer 360. This is going to be available to you to extend NetSuite and be compatible with the next generation of NetSuite's user interface. You can use Oracle Jet components to create single page apps, and we're really excited to show you more of this both in Gary's keynote and over the coming years. So the Suite Cloud development environment is a huge reason for customers to succeed. The ability and the agility to adapt is essential to virtually all of our long-term customers. I have a great example of one of these. They've adapted to many changing circumstances over their long life, and it's Lovesac. Lovesac is 25 years into their journey. They started with a simple idea: furniture should evolve with your needs and last a lifetime, much as like we feel about business systems. They had a growth spurt about a decade ago that magnified their challenges. There was no single place for info from key systems, supply chain, inventory, order management, and finance, etc. They turned to NetSuite. I'm delighted to introduce the founder of Lovesac, Sean Nelson. All right, dude.
Great to see you.
That's what I'm wearing next year. So excited to have you. You are a NetSuite poster child. You've been using it through a decade, through all kinds of thick and thin. I mean, the company's 25 years old. That's amazing. So what are some of the big milestones you've had in Lovesac's journey, kind of your growth journey?
Yeah, I think when we started using NetSuite, we were, a few dozen locations and 40 million in sales, and the analysts have us just shy of $500 million this year in revenue, and so it's been a huge stretch.
Congratulations.
And all kinds of change. We have 120 locations, shop-in-shops inside of Best Buys. We are operating mobile Lovesac showrooms on trucks. Of course, our biggest store, the Lovesac.com, and so NetSuite has somehow evolved through all of that, including taking us public in 2018. So that's been a whole new life for us, and we've been able to make it work. And
yeah, well, what have been some of the challenges, both technology and other, of being public? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that love to hear about that.
Yeah, I think I learned very quickly that one of the biggest watch-outs for any public investor is when they hear ERP implementation.
Yeah.
Right? So for us to be able to avoid that and be able to utilize the software from, in the many stages that we've lived through and different business models that we've bolted on and all of that has been really great. In fact, they keep bracing for that day, and we've just been able to continue to grow with it.
Great. Well, you're expanding your use of NetSuite. You're using NetSuite planning and budgeting. What's sort of changed in the planning cycle that led you to for the need for that?
Yeah, well, it's what hasn't changed. We've been stuck with manual Excel spreadsheets, pivot tables, all kinds of manual work that we're just finally working our way out of with the FP&A, reporting tools, and being able to pull directly from the NetSuite general ledger, all that data, and feed it into our reports, and frankly save headcount and redeploy that elsewhere into our growth.
Fantastic. And you've also adopted advanced customer support. So we're going to talk about that in a bit. How's that helped with your NetSuite implementation?
Yeah, that's been great. Look, it's allowed us to keep our internal team tight and still flex when we need capacity, when we need expertise to attack any of our design and development projects, net analysis opportunities where we don't have to necessarily have a massive team in-house, and that's been fantastic.
Okay, well, we talked about adapting. You guys are always adapting. You had a big announcement yesterday. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we just announced a really cool technology innovation at Lovesac. It's been 6 years in the making. It's called Stealth Tech, and essentially it is a full surround sound home theater system hidden inside the couch completely. It's invisible to the sight, and it provides perfect home audio sound provided by Harman Kardon with no fidelity loss. It's really quite amazing, and really proud of it, and it's out there now in Lovesac showrooms.
Well, oh, that's so exciting. Well, you have a Lovesac lounge. Everyone can visit. I don't know if we have the latest tech.
No.
You may have to put your headphones on to simulate it.
That's
but
right.
Please go ahead in the expo and check out the Lovesac lounge. Well, thanks so much, Sean, for being with us.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything at Lovesac.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
So as Sean said, ACS, Advanced Customer Support, has been so helpful, and it's been so helpful for so many customers that we talk to about it. We're getting that sort of similar feedback. Really helps you unlock NetSuite's value. And we've been, working on ACS for 5 years. Over those years, some common patterns have emerged. We've consolidated this learning into a new offering to deliver even more benefits. And today we're introducing ACS Playbooks. So ACS Playbooks can help you with the big transitions in your business. It's designed around common milestones in your growth journey. And to talk about this, I'd like to bring up golf legend and SVP of Customer Success, David Rodman. All right, David. Well, I want to talk. We could talk about golf, but let's just talk about ACS.
CJ Cup this weekend.
All right. So you've been a lot of the brains behind ACS. Can you talk about the genesis of it and how it helps customers unlock the value?
Yeah, thank you. I think Sean probably stole a lot of my thunder, which was fantastic. But ACS really, many of our customers know about ACS, but if you think about traditional ERP implementations, you go live, the software company will say, call me when you have a problem. But as you know, companies don't stop growing or changing and evolving. We think at NetSuite, our customers want to realize their dreams and grow to the next level. So ACS really bridges that gap between a go live and product support. So it can help you extend and evolve your application and grow both functionally and from a technical perspective. So when you talk about things like Suite Banking, you may have put in procure to pay, but now you want to take advantage of Suite Banking as you've grown to automate your banking process. That's what ACS allows you to do. So it's a managed service, gives you access to all the NetSuite functional and technical consultants, architecture, make sure everything's performant and operating well.
Yeah, I think that's great. And when I talk to customers, I often hear, we know there's so much more we can get out of NetSuite. We just don't know exactly how.
Yeah.
So now we have these ACS playbooks. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like, what customers are going to get?
Yeah, so we've been implementing NetSuite and working with customers for 20 plus years now. So we have leading practices. We've seen every sort of challenge with the thousands of customers that we've worked with. So we've really brought that all together and codified that into what we would call playbooks. Playbooks allow our customers to leverage those NetSuite best practices like a Lovesac would to realize their dreams at the end of the day. So we can optimize what they do. It can involve functional governance, extending your application both from a functional perspective or from a technical perspective. That's really what an ACS playbook will work through. We've codified that into different dimensions. The dimensions would be industry challenges, business challenges, technical challenges, and architectural challenges.
Great. Well, we've talked about a lot of challenges that companies have as they grow. Can you give us some examples of ACS playbooks?
Yeah, I think that we could take accounting as an example. So a company may start off with fairly basic accounting, and as they grow, they start to realize they need more sophisticated tools, like the spreadsheets that they use for planning and budgeting may no longer serve their purposes. They need to be planning on the fly. So we see customers come to us for planning and budgeting tools, like NetSuite planning and budgeting, or they're looking for financial consolidation and other more advanced things that they're looking for. We'll talk about maybe capital markets a little bit later on, but things around governance, compliance, all of those things are very important. And as their company grows, their needs become more sophisticated from a finance and accounting perspective.
Well, let's talk about it. You talk about capital markets. You know, we're proud of how many companies have gone public on NetSuite. How do ACS Playbooks help with that?
Yeah, so this year has been a really busy year for that. So whether companies are planning an IPO or now or sometime in the future, or to go through a SPAC process, there's been a lot of M&A activity. We've bundled that all into what we call financial management and the capital market preparedness playbook. So we can help with many different things like governance, internal controls, GAAP, IFRS reporting. How do companies look for IPO preparedness, SOX, segregation of duties, controls, all of that sort of gets rolled into that. And we help, like Lovesac, with that as they prepare to go live. And we met them like about I met them 5-6 years ago, and the change has been pretty dramatic.
Fantastic. And so we've gained a lot of industry expertise through the years of ACS. How does industry expertise help us tailor these playbooks?
Yeah, well, that's our first dimension. Obviously, we strongly believe that companies that are in different industries have different challenges. So at the highest level, we look at product-related companies and then services. Some of those may have elements of both, as you mentioned a little earlier in your keynote. But products companies like wholesale distributors may start off small with basic inventory management, but as they grow, as they go international, their supply chain gets more challenging. They may want to take advantage of warehouse management or demand and supply chain optimizations, demand and supply chain planning. So all of those things are encompassed within an industry playbook. If we go over to the services side, we work a lot with advertising agencies. Advertising agencies would be interested in project best practices or people best practices. So resource management, project management, how I staff a project costing, billing, tying that into their financial systems. Make-A-Wish, that was wonderful. And we help with donor management. So playbooks are definitely tailored to specific industries.
Great. And so what's one more playbook you want to talk about?
Well, I would be remiss. I mean, NetSuite is a global organization. We have customers that operate in many different countries around the world. So whether you're operating in Brazil or the UK or a US company that wants to go international, we can help with that too. We can deal with the tax and compliance, the localization requirements. How do you get your company into a different country? So NetSuite is a global ERP, global financial system. So that's the final one, if you will.
Fantastic. And how can customers learn more?
Great question. So we have, at the expo floor, we have in the customer lounge, I believe, or just email me, but we have experts there that are ready.
After you sit in the Lovesac lounge, you can come to the...
Yeah, we can go to the Lovesac lounge and I'll be sitting there after this because I'm not normally loving speaking, but they're over at the customer lounge and we have experts there. For those of the people that are online, your account management team is definitely there to help you out. And we can't have a SuiteWorld without a special, right?
Yes, now let's go. Let's hear what the special is.
So I thought you were going to talk about the special.
No. I'm leaving it to you.
Okay.
Here we go.
Well, we are offering an ACS playbook. So ACS playbooks are available to ACS customers. So if you want to find out a little bit more about ACS, we're offering, I think through November, towards the end of November, a 20% off discount, which is actually a SuiteWorld.
It's crazy dealing days at NetSuite. 20% off ACS Optimized and Architect subscriptions. Good through November 24th. With prices like this, we must be insane. Yes, I'm channeling my inner crazy Eddie.
Yeah.
So please take advantage of this discount for ACS and ACS Playbooks. Thank you so much.
Bye.
David, woo! We're insane. Crazy dealing days. All right. This is great. Okay. Well, our next guest is not insane. He has tremendous experience with growth journeys. He was an entrepreneur from the get-go. He started a production company, then a software company in 1986. SoftKey raised over $1 billion, progressed through a series of acquisitions, including the Learning Company. They were acquired in 1999 by Mattel for $4.2 billion. He co-founded Storage Now. He's the chairman of O'Leary Funds and a variety of other businesses. He's a squash player like myself, but you know him best as one of the most memorable sharks on Shark Tank. He's uncompromising, tough, and entertaining. Please welcome Kevin O'Leary.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So I tell you how I want to spend our time together today. And first of all, I'm very proud to be here. A very entrepreneurial crowd. Absolutely great to be here. I'd like to go through a journey with you that occurred to many entrepreneurs over the last 18 months. I started the pandemic with investments in 54 private companies, pretty well in every state in America, almost every sector. Everything from detergents to technology to gym equipment to commercial kitchens and cupcakes and greeting cards and you name it. And what I saw occur over this last year and a half has been extraordinary because today the portfolio is at 34. The companies that survived are doing extremely well versus the ones that failed. And what I want to talk about is the difference between the winners and the losers, because it is the definition of what has occurred in America that has made this economy stronger than ever. I call it the digital pivot, America 2.0. So let's talk about this. The way we manage a portfolio of that many companies is we do something very simple. We ask them to send what we call the tear sheet. Some do it monthly, some do it weekly, simply to numbers, revenue, and free cash flow. You can tell a lot from that information. And generally, the health of a business can be seen by the growth in revenue and the margins that are maintained in cash flow. That's how we do it. And the reason we're so diversified is we want to mitigate our risk. We want to be involved in everything. The gym equipment business is a lot different than the insecticide business, a lot different than the cupcake business, or it better be. Otherwise, you'd lose a lot of people eating cupcakes with insecticide in it. But the idea is that it's diverse. What I saw happen by March, at the beginning of the pandemic, I'd never seen before. We shut America down. We've never done that before. The majority of the companies went to negative cash flow. It was chaos. And yet, I stand in front of you here today with extraordinary news. The ones that survived are doing way better than they were before the pandemic. I'll explain why. And much of it has to do with the services you provide, or better provide, or make sure that you keep providing, because if you looked at a portfolio of consumer goods and services companies in America prior to the pandemic and looked at revenue, the pie of revenue, 50% would come from big box retail, the big guys, Walmart, Target, Bed Bath & Beyond. Primarily that I'm invested in here are consumer goods and services. And that's great business, they're great partners, they're very important. However, that's 50 cents on the dollar margin. Okay? 40% of sales came from Amazon, the world's giant retailer. A little better, 60 cents on the dollar, but you do not get the customer information, which turns out to be, as you well know, extremely valuable. And most companies had some kind of direct-to-consumer platform, so 10% was there. And that was very luxurious business, because when you sell direct-to-customer, I don't have to tell you this, the only costs involved with it are customer acquisition cost and the logistics of manufacturing and delivering the product. And in some of my cases, in my companies, our margins are as high as 93%. So you wish you could sell more direct-to-consumer, if you could, because you also collect the data, which is turning out to be more valuable than the product in some cases. So, pandemic hits, retail shuts down. The companies that were successful were able to pivot and figure out a way to service their customers direct to consumer. Now, maybe they didn't have that skill set before the pandemic, but they certainly found out how to do it during, otherwise they were going out of business. And I have two case studies that I want to show you that I think are really good examples of what it takes to do it. Now, these happen to be Shark Tank companies. The CEO of one of them is here, and he's actually adopting your platform because he's growing so quickly, which I think is a good endorsement for what you guys do. But at the same time, let's have a look at one of these, because I want to share with you the story of a company called Blue Land. Now, Blue Land was on a mission, a company run by a woman who didn't want to see 50 billion bottles of plastic thrown into the ocean. And so she came onto the Shark Tank with a solution. She crystallized cleaning fluids in a proprietary technology and gave you a reusable bottle so that you could do your own detergents. It's an incredible deal. She's an incredible entrepreneur. But this was a retail strategy, including a giant big box retailer that had an exclusive for the launch in February of the pandemic. First, let's tee up the deal with a few seconds or minutes of Shark Tank, the actual deal itself. Then I'm going to tell you what she did. All right? Let's watch this.
First into the tank is an eco-friendly version of a household staple.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I am Syed.
And we're here seeking $270,000 for 2% of our company, Blue Land.
Wow. Sharks, this is what an average household uses in 1 year in cleaning products.
And many of these products, they're over 90% water, which means that you're overpaying for plastic packaging and a ton of water. This is such a waste. Which is why we created our revolutionary eco-friendly brand, Blue Land, where we've turned this into this. So now your pantry can look like this.
How does it work? Simply fill your bottle with water, drop in a tablet. Minutes later, you're ready to get cleaning.
And our tablets come with a beautiful reusable forever bottle, so you never have to throw away another plastic cleaning bottle ever again. Together, we can eliminate approximately 5 billion plastic cleaning bottles each year. So Sharks, let's save money and space without the plastic waste.
Bam!
We have samples to pass out as well, and I can bring around more.
Is it one product cleans all windows and surfaces, or are there multiple products, multiple tablets?
Yes, so we have 4 products. We have a foaming hand soap, and we have 3 cleaning sprays. That includes a multi-surface cleaner, a bathroom cleaner, and a glass and mirror cleaner.
Listening to Lori, I realized that there's a piece of this she understands far better than I. So I would propose, without consulting with Lori, that we invest $1 million.
Whoa.
For 25% of the company.
Are you in the deal or not?
I think I'm going to change the deal
Well,
if Daniel's
while you're changing the deal, I'm going to
interested.
make you an offer that's probably more close to what you actually wanted to do. Because I don't think you're going to sell 25% of your company here today. All right, what I'd like to do is do $270 for 5%, and I want 1% advisory shares. Because frankly, I bring a lot to the table. There's only one Mr. Wonderful.
Changed our offer. We're going to do $270 for 8%.
Ouch.
4 and 4. That's the offer.
My offer is $270,000 for 6%, and the other is $270 for 8%. What do you want to do?
We can't give away that much. You guys know as much as we do.
Shocking!
That it is critical
Do
for
you have
us
a counter
to
for
have
any
a
of
lean,
us?
high-growth
Do you
business.
have a counter for any of us?
270 at 3%.
Ooh, you guys really didn't get this.
I would love the opportunity just to say one more thing.
Sure.
In the theme of compromise,
Yes.
I'll go to 5% for the 270.
We're not going down. It's like already too little.
So Kevin,
Yes.
we know you like a good royalty. What if we kept you at 3% for 270, but then we give you a royalty of 50 cents per kit until you make your money back?
Done.
Oh my God!
Congratulations.
Oh my God.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I'm really excited.
Great job, Sarah.
Good luck. Congrats, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness.
Love it.
Oh my God. The way we just started, I thought there was no way we walked with
What a shock. Oh my goodness.
There's a woman who understands me. Okay. So You know I love royalties. I love royalties with equity even better. I got my money back on this product in a matter of 6 weeks. It was a great opportunity, but it wasn't in retail. What happened was the retail launch got canceled. Sarah called me up and said, look, we're shut down. We have no revenue. We've got to go direct to consumer. Would you consider shooting a commercial for us? And I'll tell you the secret sauce of Shark Tank and why the sharks are so helpful. The show reaches 100 million eyeballs in syndication a year. The biggest problem for companies that start up, 80% go out of business for one singular reason. They're never able to get their customer acquisition costs below lifetime value of the customer. And they basically go bankrupt advertising. That is not a problem for Shark Tank companies because we have the platform, we have the shark, and we have the shark's social media. I have millions of followers, all the sharks do. So what we try and do with our companies is use our persona to help them acquire customers, particularly when it's a consumer product that has a lot of engagement. And right now, mission-driven mandates like this to clean up the oceans have a lot of power in the consumer base. So Sarah's proposal was simple. She said, can you get to New York before the union shut down production? We block off one day, we shoot a commercial, and we go nuts on social. We go nuts on cable. We do everything in our power on television, print, and social to draw in the consumers we would have got in retail. So I said, look, what are you thinking? She said, I don't know. Just show up in New York. I'll have a script ready. We have 2 days left before we can't shoot anymore because the pandemic was ripping through New York at that time. Here's what we shot, and here's what we did with it, and I'll show you what happened. Watch this, 45-second commercial written by her team. I'm Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank. When Blue Land asked me to clean a toilet on TV, I said, are you joking? But here I am because Blue Land is serious about saving you money. Stop paying for wasteful plastic bottles. With Blue Land, you only need to buy one. Easily clean anything around your house. Your vault? Portraits of your ancestors? And at $2 a tablet, you're set for life. And so am I, because I get a royalty. Get your kit now at blueland.com. Smells like a deal. This is the essence of the pivot. She changed her supply side management. She changed her whole marketing spend. She went direct to consumer February, March, April, May, June, July. Most of the time, these kinds of campaigns yield 2-3% response. That's not what happened during the pandemic. We were using algorithms to try and figure out which cable operators to place this on all over America, different cities, different times, and trying to yield from that information what to sell, what kits, what prices, everything else. She became really sophisticated at it. And as a result, built up a fantastic direct-consumer business with all the data she was gathering. And when retail opened up again, she was ready. She became omni-channel when it was time. And I think the skill set needed now is to understand your supply chain, understand how to use these platforms, understand their algorithms, because there was also 15, 19, 29-second, and 45-second version of this commercial that could be used on all these different platforms to try and find those customers that would have originally bought this product in retail. Now this company, Love Pop, is even more extraordinary. This is an incredible story. Think about the greeting card industry. It never played online. It was sort of 10% direct to consumer because most of the purchases of greeting cards are emotional, spur-of-the-moment decisions in a drugstore, in a train station, in some high-traffic location when you're trying to remember Mother's Day or Valentine's or whatever holiday it is. And this industry's been around forever. Along comes this company, Love Pop Greeting Cards. Wambi, the CEO, is in here somewhere because he's implementing this platform because he's growing so quickly. This is the first company in this sector to ever build a direct-to-consumer business in the middle of a pandemic that's stuck. Half its business, even more, is direct-to-consumer now at much higher margins, in addition to all the retail space they have, in places like Hudson Yards as well. Now, by now, when we discovered how badly things were going to get, we were getting so worried we even had to close our Hudson Yard location. What could we do that Sarah had done? But we couldn't get production anymore. We were in lockdown. I was sitting in my condo in Florida with no pants on when we shot this. And who shot it? Me. I'm an old editor, so I shot it with my own camera, and it cut it and showed it to Wambi, and we stuck it out on our social platforms. Watch this. Hey, Mr. Wonderful here, but I'm in the kitchen, so we don't need Mr. Wonderful. We need Chef Wonderful. How are we going to get him? Ichiwawa caramba! Presto, Chef Wonderful. And you know what I want to talk about? Mother's Day. It's coming up. And this year, it's going to be very tough to get flowers. That's why the great people at Love Pop Cards, you remember them? One of my favorite Shark Tank companies? These kinds of cards, I love them. Well, they've come up with bouquets. Look at these beautiful flower bouquets ready for Mother's Day. And they ship in this amazing container, flat, with its card you can fill out for Mom. It's fantastic. And look at this. These flowers fold right back up. You can store them. And they're never dead to me because you never have to water them. They're pieces of art. Where do you get these? Lovepop.com. Get them before Mother's Day. What a great idea. And they're just so beautiful. Oh my goodness. I just love this idea. Innovation. That's doing my part for Wambi. Direct to consumer. This was a wildly successful business, and today is continuing to grow and doing a great job doing what they should have done all the way through. They're an example of the American digital pivot. Many other companies have been the same. Today, that portfolio that used to make 15% pre-tax is now doing 17.5%. More cash flow because more of the business is going direct to consumer. Before we go to Q&A, which is coming up next, I just want to tell you there's 3 attributes that you should think about that you find in every single Shark Tank deal that gets funded. Not only in America, this show's been on for 25 years all around the world. There's been hundreds of thousands of pitches, and yet 3 attributes are found in the ones that get funded. Number 1, are you able to articulate the opportunity in 90 seconds or less? If you can't do that, no one's going to follow you. If you're going to be a leader, everybody has to know where you're going. You have to be able to explain the opportunity very, very quickly. Number 2, great ideas are a dime a dozen. Executional skills are impossible to find. When the 2 come together, that's when you start to see investors get excited. What is it about you that knows how to do this? What is it about you that's done it before maybe, or you worked for a competitor, or you failed in it 3 times and now you know what you did wrong? What is it about you and your team that makes this work? Now, these 2 are working. Investors are sharpening their pencils, but there's one more, and this one's the killer. And by the way, these attributes, as I said earlier, are not in some of the deals. They're in every single deal that gets funded. It does not determine the outcome of the business, determines whether it starts its journey with some funding. I consider these the attributes of leadership. I don't care if you're a general, a teacher, a preacher, an entrepreneur, whatever. You have to be able to do these. Here's number 3. I've seen the oxygen sucked out of a room so fast when you don't know your numbers. Imagine, investors want to invest, you've convinced them you can do it, and then they ask you, how big is the market? What are the gross margins? What's the break-even analysis? How many competitors are there? How fast can you grow? And you don't know the answer to that or those questions? You deserve to burn in hell, and I'll put you there myself. You get these 3 right, and you're on your journey. If it's the only thing you remember from this presentation today, I want it to be these 3. This is leadership right here. All right, let's get this thing rotating here. I just love this thing. I know I'm not supposed to be on it, but it's The Price is Right. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Last time I walked out, they were like, let's not push our luck.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. Thanks.
Well, great. It's great to see you. And wow, that commercial, the toilet cleaning commercial, I mean, you're the best investor a company could have. I mean, that's an activist investor right there.
It was a good idea. I think it helped solve her problem. And today, we enjoy the benefit of that pivot she did, and many other companies have too. I mean, direct to consumer with data is the new oil. That's the best analogy I've heard.
Yeah, well, you know, in that segment, you know, you kind of went for the jugular. You saw something. What do you see in an entrepreneur when they come on the show that says, I'm going to push Mark and Lori and everybody out of the way and
Well,
take it.
what you didn't see is that she had disclosed to us, because that presentation was about an hour and 20 minutes, cut down to 8 minutes for TV, that she had already done 2 successful exits in consumer goods and services. So you've got executional skills that are proven. You're going to pay for that. I mean, I've had so much. If I look at the portfolios I've owned over the last 13 years, 70+% of my successes have come from companies run by women. And so I'm predisposed because I think they do very good risk mitigation. They marry growth with cash flow. They try and have higher returns to the investor from the return of capital, not on capital. And that old adage, if you want something done, give it to a busy mother, seems to work for me. So I'm kind of biased. I invest in a lot of women-led businesses.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, all right. So you're given a limited time to for due diligence after you decide to invest. How do you do in that short? What do you evaluate? What do you look at? I know you've said one thing is do they know their numbers, which we totally believe in. We kind of think if you have NetSuite, you really don't have any excuse not to. But what are some things you look at during that due diligence phase? We
build up teams to do the due diligence, and I often hire interns from colleges to give them a shot at doing it because it's really good learning experience for them. We have plenty of people that want to do it. The company is run by a guy named Alex Kenji, Valeri Ventures, and he's been doing this with me for 13 years. So we have a methodology. What we're looking for, when you're on that carpet, I don't care how many times you practice, but when you actually walk out there with the sharks and the 26 cameras and it's your moment, it's really hard. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really hard. And you don't see the ones that break down and pass out. We've had all of them. But, you should never lie during that session because there's tape and there's my memory. I'm an elephant. And if you're too optimistic about your revenue that you said you made and we go into due diligence and find it's not true, that's a really bad outcome for you. Right. You should tell the truth. I mean, you really should.
Yeah. And we took a look at Sharkalytics. We saw that you have maybe a smaller number of deals, but your deals have the highest value compared to the other sharks. Why do you think that is?
I love sales. I love companies that have revenue, and I'm willing to pay up for that. So my deals tend to be large because I'm trying to figure out if I get involved, where can I assist in customer acquisition? How much can I reduce that cost? And that'll go right to the bottom line in cash flow. And I'm pretty good at doing that. I've been doing it for a long time now. And the best way to actually close deals now is I have those potential new CEOs to my portfolio talk to Sarah, talk to Wambi, talk to my CEOs that I've been working with for years to explain the value I bring to the table.
Yeah, and one of the things we noticed is that you kind of invest in all different types of companies, whereas some of the other sharks sort of focus on an area that they may be more expert in. Lori with consumer products, Mark with tech. How is it that you have sort of the confidence to invest in sort of every type of company?
I back the entrepreneur. I'm a quick study. I can figure out any sector of the S&P. I've had investments, through my indexing businesses and that I do for institutional clients. My attitude is always, give me a great entrepreneur, give me a great product, and I'm very fortunate I'm able to hire managers. I mean, the great thing about being a shark, I'll be honest with you, is everybody returns your call. Everybody. Any CEO of any retailer, any company in the S&P 500, they got kids watching Shark Tank. I mean, it's amazing. So I can cherry pick who I want for managers.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's talk about, you talked a little bit about the environment out there right now and sort of post-pandemic, everybody seems pretty bullish. Do you think it's irrational exuberance, or do you think there's really long-term growth creation that's really, should be driving these high valuations?
I'm extremely bullish because I'm very granular to the companies that I'm invested in that are private, watching what's happening in consumer response. But I'm particularly intrigued with the new America that's emerging. Think about Nike. I mean, one of the behemoth global companies. In 5 months, they achieved what they said was going to take 6 years. They got to 50% direct to consumer. At the same time, gathering data from that information. So much less reliance now on Foot Locker, for example. They know style, they know preference, they know size, they know birthdays, they know gender, they know race, they know everything about the buyer of that, let's call it a sneaker. When they drop a new one, they already have that market targeted through the AI they have. And it used to be that only they could afford that. That's not true anymore. I mean, companies like yours are emerging to provide these services at a much lower cost. And if you don't utilize them, you're going to zero because your competitor is.
Right.
And so I always ask, who's running IT in here? Let me meet them. Who's running social media? Who's running sales? And after all those are done, then I talk to the CEO, last on the list.
Yeah, well, all these people out here are true superheroes running NetSuite for their
big
company.
deal.
Fantastic, yeah. So those two companies, Bluelin and Lovepop, are sort of reinventing a category. Do you find that you tend to invest in companies that are doing that, reinventing a category, as opposed to the companies that have came out of sort of the last financial crisis like Uber that is almost a new category?
Both are interesting, but when you're establishing a new category, the risk is much, much higher because you have to actually build brand and category at the same time. I love, Wambi's a good example. The greeting card industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry all around the world, and it's coming back because people want old things that are, they want to make them new again, because after a pandemic, a handwritten note is very powerful versus an email. And so he's seeing his sales grow from that perspective, but he's doing it in a way that the old stodgy greeting card companies never did. So he's eating their lunch, and I love that. I mean, what happens to a company like that, I'm not saying he's saying this, but they get eaten at a crazy price one day. That's what's going to happen. Because some competitor is going to say, I can't do that myself, and I can't build back what he's built. What he's focusing on, and this is an attribute of successful companies now, is supply chain. If you're selling greeting cards direct to consumer, and next week it's Valentine's Day, that's one thing. But what if it's tomorrow? Can you get that card on direct to consumer tomorrow? Well, you can if you have 10 DCs across the country, and that's the direction he's going in. That's incredibly valuable for any greeting card company. But he's got the technology and the product and the licenses now. He's one of our most successful Shark Tank companies.
Well, that's fantastic, and we love having him as a NetSuite customer. There's a giant Lovepop card out there. That
I heard about that.
So
very good marketing. Good, Wambi. Very good.
So I know the new season just started. Without giving away too many secrets, what can we look forward to this year?
I've always felt that Shark Tank is 2 years ahead of the market in terms of what deals get shown to us. Let me tell you the two attributes, or maybe three, that the companies that got funded. So, I sat through 2 months of shooting, and I watched every deal getting funded. Some of them were mine, others I competed for, some I went into deals with other sharks on. But here's what got funded. Number one, food. New types of food that do not have gluten, cane sugar, or sodium, that don't taste like shit. So we saw for the first year products that have gone through so many iterations to solve for this new demand coming from consumers around healthier foods, healthier snacks. And the way you know it's working is not just the pitch on Shark Tank or tasting it. Their revenues are geometric. Mm-hmm. Most of them are starting at direct to consumer and getting incredible scale in very short order. Many people are modifying their diets. I'm one of them. I've reduced my diet for a whole bunch of reasons, and in terms of cane sugar and sodium. But I drink a lot of wine. That's my sin. I'm in the wine business. Mm-hmm. But that was number one. We saw a lot of deals getting funded at really high multiples. Like, if you get bread right with no gluten and it tastes good, you're going to get a lot of money for that, which, that was one of the deals. The other, which really surprised me, is if you just looked across the pitches, the first question one of the sharks would ask is, who's running social media? What are you doing on social media? What's your direct consumer business platform look? What platform are you using? Are you on Shopify? Are you using Facebook? What does it look? I mean, if you just had retail as your distribution strategy, you didn't get funded. Nobody wants that anymore. They want multi-channel, omni-channel. They want systems to manage inventory between direct to consumer and retail. And all of that is built into the questions being asked. So you can tell that's on the mind of the investor, because they believe the multi-channel model is going to work in every sector. And lastly, and this one was remarkable, I've always thought this was BS, the whole thing about mission and saving baby whales and no plastic and all that stuff. I always thought the entrepreneur was just BSing us on that. That's not true. It's completely changed. The consumer is demanding that. They want mission, social mission-driven businesses, and they want to be damn sure that you're providing sustainability, really providing it, like Sarah's deal. Like really eliminating plastic waste. The Gen Zers, the millennials, and a bunch of the baby boomers have made up their minds in the last 2 years that they care about the planet in a new way, in a real way. And if you're trying to play that as a marketing scam now, you're going to get called out. You have to really mean it. And the companies that got funded and had great growth proved that their consumers care about those things. And that is the new model. So 2 years from now, if you're not on a sustainability mandate and don't have a social mission, I think you're going to lose consumers.
That's great. Well, there's your hints for those of you that are going on Shark Tank this year, or next year, or some year.
And know your numbers, or I will personally put you in hell.
Yes. Know your numbers. You have no excuse not to. Well, thank you so much,
really
Kevin.
Enjoyed
it was
it.
Fascinating. And we're going to let you rotate out like the queen. Great to talk with you.
Thank you so
much.
All right. Triple vax.
Right.
Just grab my phones.
That's the new dance. Fist bump, shake hands, what have you. Great stuff. All right, I'm going to grab my clicker here before. Okay. Oh, I had to do it again. Success.
I love this. I have to buy one of these.
All right, so we asked the superheroes to help close us out this year, but they appear not to be here. Let's see if there's been any progress.
Summoned to SuiteWorld 2021, the 5 superheroes of finance are on a mission to make it to the keynote stage by 10:30 a.m. Having never visited Las Vegas before, the team is determined to see as much of Sin City as they can. Using his superpowers, Dr. Cogs evaluates all the potential outcomes that could impact their just-in-time arrival to the stage. Before they depart, Inspector Skew conducts a physical count to ensure all their luggage is accounted for. The superheroes decide to go shopping for some souvenirs, and Intangible Girl gets caught up calculating the future value of their purchases, especially the 2021 Super Stanley plushie. Next, our superheroes head to the gambling tables. Captain Finance is playing blackjack as Forecastic Man predicts the odds. Meanwhile, Intangible Girl gets caught up on revenue recognition rules. And then Dr. Cogs notices the time. Led by Captain Finance, the superheroes head for the keynote hall. But will they make it? And now, making their SuiteWorld debut, your superheroes of finance.
All right, welcome guys. I'm glad you made it. They're going to be here around all day. There's some super cool superhero artifacts in the hallway. We're going to be opening up the expo floor. We have great sessions lined up this week. So get out there and develop your own superpowers to power your growth. Thank you so much for being here today, and have a great SuiteWorld.
Good morning. Our breakout session will begin at 11:15. Once again, our breakout sessions will begin at 11:15. Thank you.